Thank you very much for your time. On stage number 1, we have the start listening to Mr. Mark Palumbo. He has cannabinoids like CBD and THC and plus chemically and how to take best advantage. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. I really appreciate you all being here. I would really like to start off by thanking the hosts. I've watched Dan Cree and all on this place. The last few days, they've done a terrific job. Great symbiotic people really excited about what this thing has potential to lead to. So I'm here to essentially share my research experiences and my user experiences, honestly, with the product and turning the cannabinoids, spending the attention on turning cannabinoids into a therapeutic tool. Of course, the much maligned plant has had too much illegality to get really deep into the kind of studies that really need to be done, although I'm sure our governments have done it pretty well, just didn't tell us. But we're not going to wait for that, and we're going to move on. So let's get going. Table of contents. These are the contacts. I can get you all of that later. There's certainly business cards over at the booth, etc. Okay, so what we developed is two-site technology, and is what we call it. Chapter Labs is the company. Two-site is the tech. What two-site technology intends to do is bring oil-soluble active ingredients to the cell. As we all know, the cell sits in water. At the end of the day, it might go through the skin and encounter ceramides and fatty acids, other fatty materials, but it has to get through that water to get to the cell sites where it can do its activity, be used in the mechanism of the cell to create the kind of stuff that we're looking for, anti-inflammation, whatever neurological effects we seek, etc. Mariana, are you close by? Mariana was translating, and I don't want to talk too fast. We good? Oh, are you okay? Yeah? Okay. Okay, when the Farm Bill was passed in 2018, everybody, and quite frankly, whoever rolled a joint in their lifetime was going to be a billionaire in this market. And a lot of people have come and go, and see, got pretty crazy for a while. A lot of investors came in hot and heavy and putting their money in places that really had attention, but doing the kind of work necessary to make this a true therapeutic. So we tried to define at first what the problems were, both by understanding the molecule better and then riding around to the different dispensaries and stores that were selling and buying product and seeing what kind of performance they were getting. Now, a big reason for this too, it's a bit selfish, I'll say. I'm a chronic pain sufferer. I have been since I was about 22 years old. That was 20 years ago. So. A lot of experience in that realm. And most of my diet during those years was ibuprofen every day, many opiates, and all the wonderful side effects that the drug articles talk about. I got them all, everywhere. So I really wanted a different way to get around this, and something a lot more natural. And I worked in the pharmaceutical industry for quite a while, but quite frankly, I believe the pharmaceutical industry is maybe going a little too far the wrong way now. The synthetics and the side effects and the multiple medications you need to combat those things because they're not helping the actual disease. I want to work with things that work with the body. And I think that what we learned makes me feel really confident that we've got something here and we can make something really happen for the clinician's toolbox. Okay, so the first problem that we defined was the oil-soluble ingredients. I would really like to pass that out of the cell. So you'll notice that the little story drops, everything you're getting, you see 2,000 milligrams. Then you go I never believed my own stick, but so they have very limited interaction with oil. So oils fight a lot. Literally, you have to put a lot of CBD in the product to get some to penetrate, get some to do the work. The process we developed involves encapsulating the semi-encapsulation, I'll call it, the oil-soluble active, in this case the cannabinoids, into a water-soluble carrier. And it really renders the oil-soluble water compatible or water dispersible. Like I said, you can make things around or scientifically speaking, it's not an very accurate statement. So when we attach these things, we get a product that can transit that water part of the environment around the cell that I was talking about. The second problem we came after was instability, and I had a conversation with some researchers at the University of Texas at Galveston, and their big complaint was the stuff's not stable. It doesn't last long, it's not there for months. So I hooked up with a lab in Burbank, California, who is an FDA-regulated OTC testing lab, to do an official stability test. What I did in that test was the amount of CBD I put in, 2/3 of it was in the compound, and 1/3 of it was free. So the conditions in such a test are elevated temperature and elevated humidity. Some people run centrifuges, I don't think this was done in this case, it's not a pharmaceutical requirement. And then they do a time zero analysis. They do another one at 1 month, at 2 months, at 3 months. People are getting more conservative now. There was a time when 3 months would have been 3 years of shelf life. I don't really ride that, which I feel comfortable saying that 3 months, I give you 18 months of shelf life. But I have a lot of data that shows that we actually exceed that. Okay, so what happened was, we had some of those degradation. The product was made until the middle of 2018. We got to the testing lab in the first week of November of 2018. They did all this stuff and whatnot, and the testing started around the 15th or so. The times we were tested has already shown some degradation in the amount of CBD based on the compared to our batch reports. After the 1 month stability ended, they pulled the samples out for testing. What we found was that 1/3 of the CBD in the sample mass specs and I was not going to jump just yet. I didn't have the stuff that I just made. So by the third month, when we tested, the levels of what was left were steady. We were able to determine that the material that we had put in the complex was holding up. To add one more thing, create this lab for this, I got I left them in rough conditions. Minnesota, California, it's hot, it's cold. So in November of this past year, I took that same sample and tested it again. And I don't want to say it was unchanged, but the change was far less than 5%. And that's 3 years later. And the lotion was actually still stable. I still use that lotion. And it works just fine. That's some extra inventory if anybody wants a low price start to try that. Okay, now we want to test performance. So, of course, in vitro first. I like to go to an in vitro lab that I feel comfortable with. He's got a pretty big data analysis. I would say that we don't understand vitro is not inaccurate, it's not understood, it's not what it's saying. But it's about a 65 to 75% predictability. When it comes out of that, I'll use the data, we're going to test that. Because you know it's going to be expensive to do a clinical analysis that's going to be pricey. What we found in this test was the rapid soluble rate. We had CBD neat in coconut oil, but the MCT is not used. We had our complex CBD also in coconut oil. And we passed it through what is considered the state-of-the-art synthetic membrane for skin in the in vitro lab, that's STRAT-M modeling. We passed more than 30 times more CBD through that skin barrier than the CBD alone. And even the testing lab called me and said, I really didn't expect that. That is really an really interesting result. So every little step of the way, I kept getting more and more inspired about continuing this. This next one is a very new, a pretty new model on the in vitro side. It's called the pamphlet analysis. The pamphlet is, as you can see, what it stands for. So the idea is we're checking gut penetration. The membranes mimic the gut. We did the same setup for the study as far as the samples were concerned. And when they ate the product, we passed 30%, 300% more CBD through the gut lining than the native CBD did. So of course it was a lot closer. The digestive aspects of the gut, et cetera, had play on it as well. But still, this graph is really simplified. I am happy to provide anyone who's interested with the real test, but it gets a little complicated. So if anybody's got that level of scientific interest, please see me, and I'm happy to let other people speak for what I'm saying. The test. Okay, the next thing was, as I got into this world, I have 30 years of background, maybe 25 in the cosmetic industry. And when I was in the pharmaceutical industry before that, they stuck on a word they use frequently called compliance. You can make a treatment and make it, it's going to work pretty well, but if it tastes like the neighbor's sewer pipe, you're probably not going to take it. So compliance is really a big deal to make sure that people kept using the product that you're making for them. They continued on the therapy you had prescribed. So the formulas that I was seeing out there were older, conventional. You've seen them all the time. If you go out getting a drink, for example, you see a mineral oil, a kind of formula. It's simple. It's a stiff formula. It holds everything in place on a distribution level, but it doesn't necessarily help active transit or any kind of alive, because a lot of stuff really is alive activity to go any further than that gel. And the performance is a little bit more, it's a lot more limited according to what I'm seeing. Now, when we do the formulas, when we do some technology, we wipe away, we can go out and not only does this technology work on making cannabinoids water dispersible, it works on essential oils, oil-soluble vitamins, other oil-soluble actives that tend to stay with plants, and on terpenes as well. So we just finished the test on the terpenes. I don't have the data yet. But what we did find out was that the terpenes, you can imagine, if they're literally very small, so on and on, just as quick. So what we found with the advantage of using this technology was not so much penetration enhancement, but the time enhancement. You got to activate it over a much longer period of time when the particular terpene was long gone by the time we had compared the two. Now, from a very basic formulation point of view, this might get a little bit, I'll try to keep it untechnical, but when you make an emulsion, we usually form our emulsions first, and then the emulsion formation is complete, I add the product after, because there is a temperature sensitivity to it. I can't recommend it for a lipstick mix as well, because you need to recommend it for people who actually see that. So we recommend letting the batch come down to 40 degrees centigrade before you add, and it disperses pretty readily in the water phase. And with everything else in the product, you'll find it maintains a position. You don't see drops, you don't see precipitation or anything like that. And you'll find and the rest you see there is and also shear as well. So we use homogenizers up to 4,000 to 5,000 RPM, pretty robust mixing equipment, and all the way down to stirrers if we wanted to. But we like to get a very fine emulsion and make a product that really travels, spreads a certain amount, and I can certainly help anybody do this, and penetrates relatively quickly without leaving any kind of a residue that's tacky or draggy or anything like that. So you kind of feel it like the thing is gotten where it's got to go. And what I'm finding from most people who have tried it and tell me the answer is that they'll put it on a pain they have someplace, a joint in the neck, whatever it is, and I'll ask them, if I'm with them, half an hour later, and I'll say, how you doing? And they're like, I didn't even think about it. I forgot I was in pain. And it's that kind of subtle, which I think every medicine should. You have to feel that the head is work. The easier way is to get it, the ingestibles last a little bit longer. Now, I probably should say this at this point in time, and it's kind of a little bit of a word of caution, if I may. The reason why we determined that those original oils that I bought, I couldn't find any CBD in, is because hemp oil, CBD, the molecule, it's pretty unstable. These guys are shooting stuff that was $55 cans. You didn't use the whole can in 3 months. It was gone. You couldn't use it. It smelled it off. So we got to find that containers, and again, you had to get rid of it all the time. What would you need at that time that you're going to use it? This translates to the active side. So, is exactly what I was going to do. Just 1 month of accelerated additions. In this thing here, 3 years later, we're still seeing the same amount, pretty close to the same amount. So that's really a big thing. I've got a lot of folks coming to me saying they're not quite so sure about the formula that they're working with. I do formulation as well. And they'll ask me to check. They don't have a check. And I have a tissue culture laboratory in Pasadena and Calton. And I can run mass spec. I'll tell them the CBD product. A lot of times I can look at it visually now that I know as much as I've learned to give them advice on how to proceed. So, as you know, in the supply chain, many of you do, manufacture the product, you put it into quarantine, send it to the lab for testing, they come back to the clinic, take it out of quarantine, stick it on the shelves, you wait for the truck to come in and pick it up, you drive it over to the customer or fly it or whatever you have to do to get there. They pick it up, they drag it in there, and they throw it in their warehouse until the stores are able to buy it. So you can imagine the time that you manufacture that product, the time that it actually gets into the marketplace on the shelves, it's 6 to 8 months to do that. And based on the testing that we did for CBD, you wouldn't have any CBD on the shelf. You have some as well. So because we've extended the shelf life so long, we're really hopeful, honestly, that somebody doesn't open up your paint cream and use it over the course of 3 years. Kind of hoping that they'll buy it from within a month or so, a couple of weeks. But I think that you'll find that a lot of folks will tell you they're getting a good result from it. And a lot of the feedback I got early on was from people who were many were friends, many were old acquaintances, many were people who were associated with it and built up a company who had relatives that were older. Who had other firms and physical firms who wanted to try it. So I sent it out pretty immediately to give away a lot of free product. But it was worth it for what I heard when I came back. Even those who were taking fans and who were already using it to drops or things or or your capsules that you have, said that I thought of course, very flattering at the beginning, kind of a big skeptic. And I guess the big answer to that question is the continuation of the 70% rebuys that we get, a lot of reorders, and then the 30% growth pattern that we're seeing on the other side of that equation. Now, I will tell you this, for those of you who open the white label and make your own product, that is not our primary focus. I'm not a marketing guy. I'm scientists that do it. So we're happy to help out with the formulations and the designs and whatnot to get you to a formula that you think your customers are really happy with, perhaps in your own label. Of course, there are negotiations and whatnot of the volumes and that kind of thing, but that's for another time. So what does this mean for me? Help me get to a better head fix about the idea that we can use natural products and we can use them on the Westernized, if you will, putting them in the food, Westernized capsules, whatever. In the Western society, really, really emotions and products that we use. They give it to them on Monday night, he goes, hey, that's like a big price tag. Doesn't work. What do you mean? There's no way to understand it. So what do you think to it? He's going to turn into a station. Well, where is it? But that's not what he says. It doesn't. You just evolves. Probably most of you at 30 days, me is probably more like 90 by now. So that process has to occur before you get to the underlying results as they come forward. So there's a lot of education in this, and we're happy to share the information and to continue driving tests that we think will improve on the consumer experience, and maybe even a little more so the clinician's experience. Because we want them to confidently walk in a room, recommend something to a patient who has a particular issue that they think this is going to solve, and have it solved. And the whole trust thing builds all the way around for everybody, product, clinician, patient, everybody. It's a different read on the whole thing. So by the penetration results that we got, ultimately what we learned is you can use a lot less. I was beginning to find that you'd have to use 2,000 milligrams of CBD before I could do 200. And I believe less is more. You can use less less side effects. I had a kind of a curious experience with the Louisiana University and he was at a seizure study, more rare and he had 30 children with 30 drugs. They used to do the functions so that the lab was the only FDA but I looked at the neurologist during the process was that nutrition operating at study is 30% side effects. It was a 30% at the time. So at that lunch, the professor said, "What is THC in the product?" Isn't it? It's illegal to play with nutrition. We know what happens. We kind of looked at 3 years. The fellow stood next to him, the fellow who introduced us, and he said, "Can I give my son the capsules?" And the son was maybe 14 years old. The disease called Parkinson's disease. It's relatively rare. That's really kids who love baseball. It's part of the got some food that's helping move the lungs. So I this is how it goes in this issue. I don't have to work with you. So I actually go back to the physician and study and asking them to look at it and do it. So in the sense of the physician, oh, yeah, sure, we're just going to find out a little bit. So in the product we're doing a physician that I really appreciate you needing some help in putting up sort of provide all the product that you need. But I really want to ask you, please, don't give me you'll know how if you will please start there. This was in June of 2018. And the physician actually called me a few months later and said, you know, it was wrong. He said, this stuff works so much better, and it's so much kinder for your body. She was on 4 medication. She's not honest at all. In fact, I felt better after I was a little skeptical. I was a little hesitant because when you get into meeting, you go all that food. And I didn't want to talk myself into a corner, but as it turns out, I feel like divorce. I heard good from that, associated with that. So maybe it's something kind of approach that, but it was a very, very interesting topic because inflammation is a lot of so many things that we talk about. Maybe most of the things. Okay, so another benefit, the last one I have up is that there are efficient storage benefits as well. You less product. This product, this two-stage product, is depending on the batch itself, I really realize that the batch process probably max out about 23.5% concentration. So you're going to have 75% of something else in the carrier in the space. So bioavailability is large, so very little density powder. If I fill up maybe like 2 kilos, something like that. Very little. But a little goes a long way, and it's much, much later to ship. You don't need anywhere near as much material. You can confine it to a pallet in big orders. To give you a little bit of an example, I can make a ton and a half of the complex a week in order to ship. And that's 1.5, really 22 million. So really, it's a little bit of product that we use very effectively in every country that I have. So this is a big point. You know, the reason why I love the AIDS is to figure out how to the process, etc. Was in the community, the physician desperate, we are not really so and we decided that many secretaries who flip those stories about consultation and reminded me of the poster that I seen years ago with gift shops. And the poster was about the bottle arguing about who was in charge. Of course, the brain comes out first, but we control the process. So obviously, we're in charge. The heart's going on, and we come to blood makers, they just get an option and feel it working. They want the eyes and the ears. But through the process, the guy in the lodge was a little upset. So he shut down. He just let everybody else go through the application. Certainly, as you can imagine, what happened is the brain got fuzzy, the eyes got clouded. Couldn't hear real well reading and stuff, and the heart was aching, trying to get things moving and whatnot. And you can imagine what the punchline was. You don't have to do it, you can do the boss. You just have to do it. I won't say it. A bad guy. Never mind. Can't really translate that. So, let's see. We have found other therapeutics that were really fortunate to work with a wonderful guy who was Eastern New England medical trained and had a clinic in Santa Barbara, California. And the guy had one time to 16,000 patients, including India, some Paris, somewhere, somewhere else, half of Hollywood, the whole market for the movies, Fast and Furious, his girlfriend worked for. I didn't know his clothes, but he had a very significant, very telling patient cohort in his practice. And he and I started working greatly with the water-solubility. As you can imagine, his pharmacy was bottles of plants. He'd assess the patient's condition, they would offer a tea for them, or some food that they would take in, and send them home. Everybody would and I think customized medicine is something that we all see, because we all know that every one of us has nuances of the dynamics of the we don't have the same action. The problem with that is always when we only rely on it's hard to know well, they really happen to capture as many things as you can. You can use adjuncts later on. But what we found was what we were doing was very kind to the body because of the low levels of active, because of the lower interaction with other drug products, because of the routes of penetration, because of the speed of penetration. That we had something that was helping people pretty quickly and doing well. I haven't had one person complain about the side effect since we started doing this. And I haven't had nobody tell me it didn't work. But, I've given it to 1,000 people. I'm sure 910 of them said, they just didn't call me. That's it. Guys, thank you for your time. I want you to know that we're really considering a lot of research. I'll be happy to take any questions, but I did forget to make the point that what Henry and I, the clinician who studied, was melanin type 2 cells. CBD topically applied. Henry had grown fond of another molecule he had found that was growing in Southeast Asia. He brought the material in and combined it with the CBD, and our early test results were positive enough so that the patients he was giving it to followed after he was very returning and efficient capacity. And just one of the holistic practitioners who were really good to but it was really promising for the amount of stuff that we think we can do with this, and the combinations we can work with this. We spent a lot of time together and putting together this kind of really fun. Thank you. I'm sorry. I